6. Hello, good morning. It's me, James Max, with you until 6:30. Mike Graham will be here for breakfast very shortly. Meanwhile, go through the papers with Ed Mead. He's founder of Uber. Ed, let's turn attention to the Times. This is a town cutting their speed limit on every residential street. Why?
Well, like a lot of other councils, it's a very easy thing to talk about and say, we're going to cut all our speed limits to 20 miles an hour, but you can cut your speed limit to 5 miles an hour if you want, but unless anybody enforces it, it doesn't make any difference. And around where I live in London, there have been 20 mile an hour speed limits in force for 3 or 4 years, but people still speed.
So you see, I think it actually makes it worse, because I live on a street where it's supposed to be 20, and because it's supposed to be 20, if it was 30, people tend to stick to it. If it's 20, they don't stick to it at all, and they just speed past. And as you say, and then you end up with either with cameras everywhere, in which case people just speed up and slow down, or alternatively, they just speed. And to my mind, this is the most ridiculous and stupid policy we've ended up with. And also, we've got the technology. Why don't they do variable speed limits? So at night, or quiet time 30, and busy times, or during school hours or whatever, at 20. It's not hard.
Well, there's also another issue here, which is that people spend their entire life looking at their speedometers, terrified of so you get some people that completely ignore it, and then the other people who spend their entire life looking at their speedometer, terrified of doing 21, 22, because the 10% rule applies normally for most people. They're looking to see whether they're doing over 20. And it's just they're wobbling about all over the road. It's just a terrible idea. It doesn't make any sense at all to me.
It doesn't make sense to me either. Meanwhile, to the Telegraph, beachgoers are being told to mind their P's and Q.
Well, I'm slightly embarrassed to talk about this because it's more of an issue that I find getting older again. We're back to age, James.
Right.
Which is that if you are out and about, it's very difficult these days to find somewhere to have a pee.
Right.
I'm going to put it right out there, okay?
Okay,
and so
fine.
It's just one of those things where I'm not surprised. I think you are a beach hut owner yourself, so
Yes.
From that perspective, you will understand what the problem is with this sort of thing, where people tend to have peas wherever they can. But these days, whenever you stop at a lay-by because you want to have a rest or whatever it is, it always sticks. There's just the...
So basically what you're saying is there are not enough bogs everywhere. So what's the article about as opposed to your personal problems?
Well, if that's talking about complaints, but from beach hut owners talking about people peeing behind their beach huts because there aren't any loos nearby.
Right. Well, exactly. Well, I think if that was happening, thankfully, mine's quite close to a public convenience, but apparently the public convenience was not in a great state because, funny enough, councils are not spending enough on making sure there are enough staff to clean and look after them all.
Yeah, well, if people want to attract people to their beaches, they should make sure the people who come there are catered to, and that clearly isn't happening in this particular instance.
Well, what a surprise that we in the UK are not doing enough to help manage our natural environment. Meanwhile, experts, they're casting doubts over the UK's first rare earth processing site. What on earth is this about?
Well, I think people will probably be quite encouraged by the idea that someone somewhere in the UK is doing something to compete with their processing rare earth minerals to put in batteries for electric cars. The government have said that they want to, by 2024, which is only a couple of years away, be able to process 5% of the world's rare earths. That's quite a big commitment, but I think there's a certain amount of, how can I put this, reticence about whether or not this is likely to be met.
Right.
But I do think it's quite an encouraging thing that the government at last, because the Brits are very, very good at doing this sort of thing if they get it right. Brits have always been good at leading the world in certain areas and actually being able to do this sort of stuff. But when they actually come to do it, more often than not, commercially, the benefits tend to go to another country. They go
elsewhere. Very quickly, so Uber, what does it do and what milestone have you just passed?
Well, Uber provides people to go and do viewings or inspections, reports on properties when estate agents or property managers themselves can't. They can book it, so it's a way of outsourcing it. And we've just done our 300,000th appointment, which in 5 years I think is quite a milestone.
Fantastic, certainly is. To the Mail, what have 7 in 10 police or Met police officers not done?
Nicked a single person last year, according to the figures.
Unbelievable.
Which is quite shocking. I can't believe either they've made a mistake or the Met are getting they're not employing the right people.
Well, it's no wonder when they're in special measures. So this is as crime hits the highest level in 2 decades. Makes you wonder whether or not they're really doing their job. I mean, look, you can't necessarily have arresting by numbers, but you would have thought that people would have been out there.
Yeah, I mean, we all know, again, I come from not an era, that's the wrong sort of expression at all, when you saw a lot of bobbies out on the beat. Now you see people roaring around in cars and everything seems to be done electronically or via CCTV, and I have no problem with that. But I think they need a higher visibility and the ability to actually collar criminals.
I think they do. Just finally to you. So oh dear, this is about... So just explain to me. So there's a Spanish bull run, and it's not without danger, is it?
Well, it just... On the one side, you've got to say to the Spanish, good on you for actually allowing bulls to chase people in streets. On the other side, of course, there's the horrendous side that this is because of the fact that they still kill bulls over there in bullfights. But the idea that people think it's clever to put themselves... get hurt, and I just think it's...
And according to this story in the paper, a man who's 56 has become the third person to be gored to death at a Spanish bull run in the day of horror. So there you go. What a gory story. Ed, if you want to find out more about Vuber, where do they go?
VIEWBER, Vuber.co.uk.
Vuber.co.uk. Ed Mead.